Hello there, YouTube crew. I'm the real Dill, and today we're going to be talking about the pilot of The Last of Us. I found it very engaging, very enjoyable, and I think the fungus origin for the zombies is probably the best conceived origin there is, at least that I'm aware of. It's well cast. It sets up characters, sets up tension, sets up world building and all this stuff very well. It's all around a good pilot and a good adaptation. It's largely one for one. You know, it has a few elements that it kind of adds some stuff, and then like there's some game stuff like fetch quest stuff that cuts out obviously. And like so story wise, I think you actually get a little bit more out of this than what you get in the game. Halo and Uncharted fans are just sobbing in a corner right now looking at this adaptation. And it does a thing that a lot of great adaptations do. It'll take a core concept from the source and make an entirely new scene that captures it in a way the source never really did. And that would be the opening of the show. And man, like it could just be information dump, just to get the audience settled in. And it is, but like, man, it just turns it into this mood piece that sets up the stage for the rest of the story. It's tonally perfect.
We lose.
And of course, I love seeing Jonathan again. I also think the show does a better job of getting Joel and Ellie together. See, in the game, it's a sort of the same concept where a deal gone wrong, and they're out looking for the guy, except instead of a car battery for the hopes of getting it into a vehicle so they can go and find Joel's brother, it's instead about this completely unrelated box of weapons. And so like there's just a better emotional drive to get the story going. And of course the desperation of the situation at hand in the show version enhances why he's so willing and so cutthroat to get Ellie to this place with the fireflies. It does a better job of making him work for them. Although there is another point towards the end that the game just outclasses the show, and it's the bite reveal. See, in the show they just go past it too quick, and in the game they actually sit back, take the time. Characters draw guns like of course they would, and like, hey, you need to explain yourself. Why should we not put a bullet in your head right now? And then and part of that in the show wise is it's so obvious that what's going on with Ellie's character that the audience should know the information. And so I think you'd have to pare back some of that when she's in captivity and make it less obvious so that at this point you can drop the big bomb and it works better. Like in the game, like you even have Joel, he's like, oh man, we've been set up, like we've been sent out here to die carrying an infected person. And like you just don't get that in the show. And really what you miss out on seeing how characters react to such big information, you learn less about them. So I think the game just does that way better. Before I went into this show, I heard from a friend that one of the major deaths in the show is just sucks in comparison to the game. And like obvious spoilers going ahead, but I did feel like it wasn't as good as it could have been. But then I looked at the game and it's pretty close to how the game portrays it. See, in the game, the big difference is one, Joel isn't asking for his brother Tommy to help, and then it pans left to show his brother Tommy, and then it comes back, and in the time between it leaves and comes back, Sarah dies. That's a pretty effective way to do it, and I think it's far more effective than the cutaway that the show does. But I honestly don't think either of these are as good as they could be. See, I would like to stay there with Joel and Sarah. I think the show does a good thing of adding in the element of Joel desperately asking his brother to help, even though there's nothing his brother can do. But instead of giving the immediate look at Tommy, it should stay on Joel and Sarah, because that just escalates the anxiety, like the like desperation, like nothing can help you, and by holding off the cutaway, and then finally after Sarah's died, then you get the cutaway to Tommy as he takes in the event, like it's like this huge remorse and empathy he has for his brother. And What also would help that for the show is by I would think the show, if it did it like this, it would be right and not making it one continuous shot, but making it a cutaway, and I would make it a tighter close up. And what this would do visually is it would separate Joel and Tommy. And of course, later on, you find out that they've not only are they, half a country apart, but they've sort of fallen out. Not like Tommy's gone his own path, different from Joel, and so like there's this distance between them, and visually you get this distance by separating the shot, by not including each other in the other one's shot, and by holding off while Joel is going through his greatest grief of moment. I think that would just set up the later narrative much better, and it just make a more emotional moment. And so the problems I've discussed are nitpicks, and so that's very good. Like, that's the worst I can come up with for this show. It's doing great, and I hope it continues on. I hope it follows the path that the game has set out for it, like it already has. It continues to do it because the story of the game, it's very brutal and it's very emotional. I hope they land it. Well, that's all I've got. Thank you for listening. I was gonna do a whole a couple other shows like The Hunters and 1923, but then I realized if I did 1923, I'd have to do Tulsa King, and then at that point I might as well do a whole Taylor Sheridan series thing, and that would take a while. And The Hunters, I'd just be ranting about how much of a disappointment season 2 is to people who haven't really seen season 1. So, if you are interested in either of those, let me know, and I'll whip something up. In the meantime, have a great time. I'm the Real Deal. Thank you for watching.